That's Kathleen. That's the first girl song in the 50s. You knew, I cut the first, in the 50s, you know, everybody was singing about girls. You know, Richie had the song Donna, Buddy Holly had Peggy Sue. But I cut my song, Lorianne and Kathleen, before they ever cut their song. Yeah. It didn't sell us many records because, you know, they got killed in an accident and that made them a lot bigger. Oh, it made them 10 times. If I'd have got killed, I'd have been a lot bigger.
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't want to be killed.
No. Yeah, a little bit, but... Oh, just a couple licks. You mean on the... singing it? Right. My Lorianne, speak to me sweet and gentle. Oh, Lorianne, say something sentimental. Now is the time. I want to hear you say I love you. Please understand, don't leave me cold and lonely. Oh, Lorianne, you are my one and only. Now is the time. I want to hear you say I love you. For a while I had you kissing, all at once started missing. Lorianne, Lorianne, you left my lips a burning, you left my heart a yearning when you ran. Lorianne, oh Lorianne, speak to me sweet and gentle. My Lorianne, say something sentimental. Now is the time. I want to hear you say I love you. Lorianne. My Lorianne.
That was a big old hit, huh?
That was a good one for me, yeah.
What year did that come out, man?
1958. Yeah, 1958. I was in the Army.
You could go back and talk about Glen Glenn in the beginning. Where did you first really fall in love with music?
Oh, I found music when I was in Missouri. So I was born in Missouri, and Joplin, Missouri. And I fell in love with music when I was a young kid. I was about 8, 9, 10 years old, and used to listen to the Grand Ole Opry and Ernest Tubb, Roy Acuff, and, you know, the old country singers of those days, Hank Williams. That's what got me started in music. Then we came to California when I was 13, and I was still interested in music. You taping now? Okay. And then you want to know a little about Glen Glenn? Okay.
In the beginning.
Okay, in the beginning. Well, this is the beginning, and then about 1949, 50, and all that, I was listening to the radio station KXLA. Remember that in Pasadena? And I used to listen to the Hometown Jamboree, Cliffy Stone's Hometown Jamboree, Tennessee Ernie Ford, Cliffy Stone, and Gino Quinn, remember him, and Molly B. I used to know Molly real well. I ain't seen out where she's at now, but and Tennessee Ernie Ford, and then I started listening to Spade Cooley. He was on television in the early days, you know, in California. In the 50s. And I started listening on the radio a lot and the Maddox Brothers and Rose was real big in the 50s, you know, man. And nobody could outdraw the Maddox in the 50s in California. And that's how I met the Maddox when I started playing music. I started, you know, following them and everything. And in 1954, me and Gary Lambert got a job at the County Bar Dance in Baldwin Park. And it was a television show put on by Kelly Car Company in 1954. And we were on there for about a year and a half or so on the County Bar Dance. And then we started doing Cal's Corral. You heard it. You're going to do Sammy Masters and Sammy and old Cal Worthington. He had that Cal's Corral. We did that show for about 3 years. Every Sunday we were on TV on Channel 11. I believe it was Channel 11 with Cal Worthington.
Was that KCOP?
It might have been KCOP, yeah. I still got some of the audio tapes on. I wish I had video in those days. I wish I had video of some of those old shows, but we didn't have no video in those days. Yeah, and you was talking about Danny Flores and the Champs. Well, he was on that show, too, before he was the Champs. He was on the Cal's Corral. Eddie Cocker was on there. A lot of people played the Cal's Corral. Glenn Campbell was on there. He started there, Glenn Campbell. In fact, Glenn Campbell used to play guitar for Sammy Masters.
You and Sammy played together, though.
Me and Sammy played a lot together.
Sammy would be a rockabilly guy or a little mix of rock and roll? Or?
Well, I don't call Sammy a rockabilly. Don't tell him I said that. I call Sammy a country singer, but he did make a couple a lot of guys were country singers, and they made maybe one rockabilly record or a couple rockabilly records because you had to make rockabilly records when Elvis came out, even if you was even country singer. See, Marty Robbins, he sung country, but he even made some rockabilly. Even George Jones and Buck Owens made a rockabilly record. Because Elvis almost killed music, country music, when he came out. He almost killed everybody's music. And so if you didn't want to sing a little like Elvis style, you was out of the music business during the Elvis days, yeah. But yeah, well, Sammy did some rockabilly. He did that song called The Hot Rod Lincoln. You ever heard the Hot Rod Lincoln? That was Sammy Masters. And he did a Pink Cadillac. He had a song called Pink Cadillac. That was Sammy Masters. He was original on 4-Star Records. Pink Cadillac. Oh, it's a classic, yeah. Yeah. Well, Sammy's been out to the house here. He's been our guest out here, and yeah, I've known Sammy for 40 years. We're good friends. And Ray Campy, we're all friends.
As far as first recordings, was that the Lorian or?
Well, I was in the business from 1954 to 1958, and for some reason I didn't start making records till 1958, and everybody said, "Why don't you make records?" I was happy just going out there playing shows and playing live music, and I said, "Well, I better make a record." So we went down to Gold Star Studio in Hollywood. That's where a lot of people cut records. Eddie Cochran cut down there, the Champs cut down there, and we cut Everybody's Moving was my first record. Came out in January 1958. Everybody's Moving, and my second record was Lorian. It came out about March or April 1958. And then after that, I had Blue Jeans, and then I cut later with the Ernie Freeman Band when I cut that Susie Green from Abilene and Goofing Around. It's not rockabilly. Ernie Freeman was an all-black band. They said, "Well, rockabilly's sort of going out of style now, so we're going to change your style." I still sound the same, my voice, but it don't sound the same because I got the Ernie Freeman Band playing behind me. Different, and I love that kind of music, but it's different than my rockabilly, you know. And he did Raunchy, yeah. Then Plas Johnson was the sax player that played with Ernie, and Plas Johnson was he played for everybody in the 50s. I think he played on the Coasters records. He played on a lot of people's records, and he also he was on the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson. He was a sax player on the Tonight Show for Johnny Carson for a long time. So, and Ernie Freeman eventually, after he produced my record, and later he produced all of Frank Sinatra's. He went up the ladder. And Dean Martin. Ernie Freeman did Dean Martin. He did all of Dean Martin's hits. Ernie did, and Frank Sinatra, all of Frank's big hits in the '60s. Ernie did. Yeah, he did all of Frank's. All the stuff that Frank did on Reprise. After, not the Capitol stuff, the early stuff. The stuff he did on Reprise, Ernie Freeman did the producing on it. And Glenn Campbell played guitar on a lot of the Sinatra stuff. Yeah. And all of Dean Martin's big hits, when he was doing the country stuff, all big hits, Dean Martin, Ernie Freeman produced that too, yeah. Mm-hmm. I always said, you went up the ladder. You produced Glen Glenn, and then you went from me to Dean Martin, and from Dean Martin you went to Frank Sinatra. That's what I told him. Ernie Freeman.
What question I'm sure the viewers want to know, what would be the first, the roots of rockabilly music? Kind of give an idea where it started and some of the early influences?
Well, the rockabilly music, I would say the first rock and roll or rockabilly, what got me interested in rock and roll, see, I was strictly country music, like Ray Price and George Jones and early stuff. The real, the good country, which that's my favorite music, is the old good tear-jerking country songs. And then, when Bill Haley came out with Rock Around the Clock, that was the first real big, to me, rock and roll song. Because I think that's what made Elvis want to go rock and roll, and that's what made me want to go rock and roll, was Bill Haley. Then after that, it'd have to be Elvis. And then Carl Perkins was right in the same area. Then Jerry Lee came out right after that, and then Gene Vincent was there. I don't consider Eddie Cochran, because me and him were doing it at the same time. We started the same time, right here in California. He had a lot better luck than I did, because you got to realize Eddie didn't go in the service. I was in the service for 2 years, and Eddie was a couple years younger than me, so he didn't have to go in the service. See, I got drafted. And so that's when he came out with Summertime Blues and all those good records he made, you know. And I lost those 2 years. Now, Elvis was in the service the same time I was, too, but it didn't hurt Elvis. Because Elvis was already so famous. In fact, it made him more famous by being in the Army. But see, I wasn't famous, so it made me, I was less, you know. But it made Elvis more famous because we were in the Army at the same time. Elvis went to Germany, and I went to Hawaii. But in those early days in California, we were all good friends, sort of like today, you know, like Ronnie Mack and Ray Campy and all of us, the guys out here in California. They're all good friends. And Big Sandy, you know Big Sandy. And they're not jealous of one another. They all like one another. And that's the way we were in the 50s, like me and Eddie Cochran and all of us. We all liked one another. And I was happy when he had a hit like Summertime Blues. Man, I said, man, I'm glad Eddie had that record. Man, I was happy for him to have such a big record, you know. Wishing it could have been me, but happy for him, you know. And we used to play together. It's a lot like you're going to the barn dance tonight. It was a lot like that in the 50s. And we'd hang out at the Palomino a lot, see. In the 50s, you had the Palomino. And the Palomino used to have once a week they had an amateur contest at the Palomino. And so all these guys would go up and sing. And now who's the guy you're talking about the Burrito Brothers, the singer, Graham Parsons? You knew that Graham Parsons had played the Palomino. Every week he would go down there at the Palomino, either Tuesday or Wednesday night, and he got on the amateur contest. Every week he went down there. And he never did win it. I'm talking about many, many weeks he went down there, never did win it. So you can't always go by that, and he became one of the greatest, you know, Graham Parsons. He did a lot for country rock, you know. He liked George Jones, and he also liked the Beatles. And he put those two together and made rock country rock. I think he was the one that started it. And he hung out at the Palomino all the time, Graham Parsons. And this is about the Palomino, so we talk about the Palomino. Well, I first started to listen to the Palomino in the late 40s when, we came out here in 1948. And KXLA radio was in Pasadena. And that was the biggest and the best country music station in the whole Southern California. That's where Tennessee Ford got started. He used to be a disc jockey on that station. And they used to broadcast once a week from the Palomino. And I was just a kid then, in the early 50s. And then I would listen every week to the Palomino radio shows. And everybody was coming in at the Palomino. Hank Penny was running the show down there. And Tennessee Ford would even come in and sing. And, man, he was a big star. And he wouldn't really play the Palomino because he's too big, you know. But he would just pop in one night, and he'd get up and sing a bunch of songs. And Ernie and, man, everybody was showing up at the Palomino, you know, in the late 40s. And in about 1956 or 7, I played the Palomino. I started playing the Palomino, and then I got drafted. Then when I got out of the Army in 1960, the first job I had when I got out of the Army, I'd been out of the music business, but I'd been in the Army. I'd been in Special Service, so I was doing shows in the Army. But when I got out of the service, I went back to the Palomino, and I played there for, about 6-7 months. I played the Palomino, and I was a front band, and I was a band leader. And when I played the Palomino, a lot of movie stars would come in. Audie Murphy used to come in a lot. You know, he just come in and have a beer or something. And a lot of the movie stars of those days, the Cowboys were on TV. They would come in and have a beer at the Palomino. And Gary Lammer played with me then too. That was in 1960. And then I got tired of playing clubs and started playing more shows. You know, I didn't want to be stuck in one club all the time, so I started playing shows. And then that was quite a deal when I went back to the Palomino. It was 30 years later I went back and played the Palomino. I waited 30 years and went back and played the Palomino in 1995, I believe it is, in that book. And I think we were the last big act to close the Palomino before they closed. But I got a lot of fond memories of the Palomino. I remember one time, about 1960, Wanda Jackson was cutting a record at the Capitol Tower right in Hollywood. And that's not far from the Palomino. I was playing the Palomino. And Buck Owens was playing guitar for her. He was playing the guitar. He wasn't singing, he was playing guitar on her record. And Win Sturt was there. And so they came out to the Palomino that night, and and they all come out. We had a big party, and they all got up and sung. Buck got up and sung. Wynn sung. Wanda Jackson sung. Had a big party at the Palomino, and they just came out to have a good time. After they cut their records, you know, at the Capitol Tower. But everybody showed up at the Palomino. I got a thing. George, hand me that thing on there. I'll give you a date here of Bob Dylan playing the Palomino. I got this out of a book today. It's on that coffee table. This coffee table on top there's a little piece of paper there. Yeah. To show you who's played the Palomino, I wrote this down. I want to get the exact date for you so that you can look for it. It's on February the 19th, 1987, at a Tal Mahal concert. You know Tal Mahal? Yeah. He was playing the Palomino. It was his show. He's that black musician. He plays sort of blues, doesn't he? Well, anyway, John Fogerty, Bob Dylan, and George Harrison went out to see him, and they all got up on stage, and they all did rockabilly for about an hour. An hour show with Bob Dylan, George Harrison, and John Fogerty at the Palomino. And that's in the book Positive Bob Dylan, page 18856. So I thought that might be good to talk about. Bob Dylan's even played the Palomino, see? You know, you don't see Bob Dylan do stuff like that too often. And he didn't get paid for it. He just went out there because he wanted to go to Palomino and have a good time. And he wanted to sing rockabilly instead of doing those like a Rolling Stone stuff. He cut that with Johnny Cash, yeah, in Niceville, yeah. Yeah. Oh, Rose played the Palomino many times. Oh, yeah, the Maddox Brothers and Rose and played the Palomino, and I played the Palomino there with Rose. Everybody, Marty Robbins played the Palomino. You know, Marty was a monster star. He played the Palomino many times. When an artist from Niceville came to California, in those days, you didn't have a house of blues in those days. You know, everybody said, I want to go to the house of blues. To me, I'd rather play the Palomino than the House of Blues. Man, to me, that's like playing the Grand Ole Opry, you know. And I remember everybody coming out from Niceville would want to go to the Palomino. Jerry Lee Lewis played there many concerts at the Palomino. The Everly Brothers played the Palomino. When they split up, was it Phil that played the Palomino by himself? Because Don, I think, was over in England with Albert Lee, and they split up, and Phil was playing shows right down here at the Palomino in the 60s or 70s. I'm all this on the top of my head, you know. I got a good memory, but I don't know if I can get the exact date. But yeah, Phil used to play there all the time, 3 and 4 times a week. Phil Everly would play the Palomino, and I always said, look at the Everly Brothers. Phil's playing the Palomino, you know, and now he's playing Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas with the Everly Brothers, you know. But when they got back together, they were a lot bigger. Well, the 50s came back, too. You know, the 50s during the 60s, even Carl Perkins had a hard time getting a job. You know that, George. And Rockabilly died about 1960, and it came back about 1977 when Elvis died. I don't know that Elvis had anything to do with it. It seems like that's about the time it came back, though. Seemed like when Elvis died, man, rockabilly started getting big again, you know. But for about 15 years there, nobody wanted to hear rockabilly, you know. You couldn't get a job, and Carl couldn't even get a job. You know, Carl started working for Johnny Cash, you know, and playing guitar for Johnny Cash, and it was hard for. And I remember Gene Vincent was living out here in California, and he was even having a hard time getting a job at the Palomino. And, you know, he's Mr. Rockabilly because nobody wanted to hear the rockabilly. And Gene Vincent, if he played right now, you could put him anywhere. You know, Gene Vincent, you know, he could pack the Universal Amphitheater. But during the 60s, you know, rockabilly was dead. And but the Palomino's always been there, and it should always be there. I hope they don't ever tear that place down. I could name Del. The guy that does from the Grand Ole Opry, he did a live album there. I can't think of his name now. But anyway, he did a live album from the Palomino. But yeah, I played a lot of shows at the Palomino. You know, I had a lot of good times at the Palomino. Used to get drunk in the Palomino. It had to have people drive me home. Yeah, I had my drinking problem in the 50s, pretty bad.
I think that, you know, a lot of people...
I was a lot like George Jones.
I think the culture was different that... I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was sort of the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's kind of telling us what's going on in the street.
Yeah. And Gene Davis used to work, you might bring this up to him, in 1954, I mentioned earlier, I did the County Bar Dance show in Baldwin Park, me and Gary Lambert. Well, Gene Davis was working with a guy named Chuck. They called themselves Chuck and Gene. This is before he played the Palomino. And Gene Davis was playing the television. You might bring him, said, Glenn said you played the television show in 1954 with him. Yeah, he did. He was on the same show we were on. And then I'll always say that Gene Davis probably played the Palomino longer than anybody, because he played there many years, and he was Mr. Palomino, Gene Davis. You know, he played there so long, and he had a good band. In fact, you're talking about Delaney. He played with Gene. He worked for Gene. He was a singer in Gene's band. And Johnny Carver played the Palomino a long time. He also worked with Gene, and Johnny had a few hit records in the country, Phil. And he played the Palomino. So many people played the Palomino. But old Hank Penny, and Sue Thompson, she's a friend of mine. I'll try to get a hold of her phone number for you. She lives in Las Vegas. And she was married to Hank Penny, so she could tell you a lot of good stories about the Palomino. She was one of his first wives. They have a kid together, her and Hank.
Way back in the 20s.
Yeah. You remember Sue Thompson, don't you? Remember she had that song, Sad Movies Make Me Cry? Remember that Sad Movies? That was Sue Thompson. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was married to Hank. Yeah. She was married to Hank about the time she was cutting those records. And she had to play the Palomino, yeah. But Sue's 70-some years old. You know, she's older than I am. Yeah. She had 2 or 3 big hit records, Sue Thompson did. Sad Movies and a couple others. Yeah, Sad Movies Made Me Cry. Well, Sue always had a voice where she sounded like a little girl when she sung. You always thought she was a little girl, but she was about 50 years old. She sounded like a little girl. Yeah, her and Brenda Lee. I knew Brenda, too. I knew everybody. It's like saying, who didn't you know, you know? I knew everybody in the music business, rock and country. I don't think they actually played the Palomino crickets. They'd have been on those 50 shows, you know, like the one I have up here, you know, they did those kind of shows. Now, Buddy probably played a lot of clubs down in Texas where he played, you know, in Lubbock and down in there, but I don't think he only came to California maybe once or twice, and then he probably came on a package show where he was playing with like Jackie Wilson and a bunch of them. He might have went out to the Palomino. The Crickets might have went out there, and the Crickets are still around, you know. Yeah, I know the Crickets. I played some shows with the Crickets just recently. Yeah, they're still, and they might have went to the Palomino. I remember one time, Elvis never went to that. I know the Palomino, because Elvis wouldn't go. I do know that Bill Black, Elvis's bass player, and Scotty, and DJ stayed at my house here when I brought him out here for House Blues. DJ was telling me they went out to the Palomino when they were playing for Elvis. You know, they were staying at the Knickerbocker Hotel, and just to get out and do something. You know, they got tired of staying up in that hotel room. You know, they're making those movies with Elvis, and so they all went out to the Palomino one night and had a party, man. That was his band. Yeah, they went out there and had a party, and that was about well, that's where I went in the Army. So that'd been about 1957. They went out to the Palomino. They had a ball out there, you know. But Scotty still likes the Scotch. He drinks that Scotch, and he loves it, so he's Scotty Moore, yeah. And Bill was a beer drinker. Oh, he loved beer. And DJ likes anything. Bill Black's dead. Scotty's still living, and DJ's still living, but Bill Black died. You remember the Bill Black combo? After he quit Elvis, Bill Black got his own band. Remember they all quit Elvis?
Yeah.
We had a lot of big hits, Bill Black, yeah. Oh, Bill Black's a good friend of mine, a real good friend.
Yeah, Delaney was telling me that Elvis could have come here.
He could have. I don't know. I never knew that he did. He didn't like to get out too much, but he could have. I mean, he knew about the Palomino. He knew about Cal's Corral because Elvis used to watch this on TV on Sunday because I always did a lot of Elvis songs. And he would watch us every Sunday because Sunday was his day off. You know, he didn't have to make movies on Sunday. So he would, you know, he's a television nut. You knew that. And there wasn't many stations in L.A. In those days, you didn't have cable. You only had about 4 or 5 stations in L.A. And so you almost had to watch this on Sunday afternoon, Cal's Corral. And Elvis used to watch it. He'd tell me, he'd say, keep singing my songs. So Elvis could have went to the Palomino. I don't see no record of it. But I'm trying to give you good records, like this record of Dylan. It's in a book. And I knew Dylan went there, but I got it actually. It's in the book that he was at the Palomino. It tells the date. I wrote the date he was at the Palomino, yeah. I know Hugh Hefner's been in the Palomino, the Playboy man. He's come out there. Well, Ricky played there a lot. Oh, yeah, Ricky played the Palomino a lot with Stone Fan. He played at Palomino all the time, and he played the Troubadour. So that's before the House of Blues. If I was an act now playing, that's probably where I'd be playing the Palomino all the time instead of the House of Blues, because that was the #1 club, the Palomino or the Troubadour. And the whiskey was a little bit. I never wanted to play the whiskey because that was a little too wild for me. That was more heavy and acid music and stuff. I could play the whiskey, but my fans didn't usually go to the whiskey and go-go. They went to the Palomino. Good friend of mine just died. I talked to him about a week before he died on the phone. You know, and I talked to him about 2 or 3 months before that. And he wasn't feeling good, but he didn't know what was wrong with him. And so he went to the doctor, and he had cancer. Man, that cancer, in 3 months, he was dead. He died. And I talked to him about a week before he died. Because we were talking. See, I went over to this Hisby show in London, and Buddy hadn't been playing. You know, Buddy was an alcoholic, and he was really bad at it. And so Buddy was going to go play Hinsby. In fact, I was going to set him up to play Hinsby. I knew Woody Jeffries, who runs Hinsby, and I was going to get him a gig in Hinsby, and he was really looking excited for it because he hadn't been playing very much. He was living up in Seattle, and Willie said, "Well, I really want Buddy Knox, Mr. Party. I want him bad, but he said, I'm afraid, will Buddy show up? And drinking, will he show up?" I said, "Oh, no, he will. He'll be all right. He'll be fine for the show." And then he died. He didn't make it, yeah. And Tommy Sands played the Palomino. Tommy's still a good friend of mine, He's got a star in Hollywood right down the street from Jack's Sugar Shack. And Tommy's a real good friend of mine. In fact, I try to help. We try to help all of our friends. I just played Hinsby, and I got Tommy. Tommy's playing the next Hinsby next year. Got him a show because Tommy hasn't been playing a lot. And I got him a gig he's going over to Europe. He's going to play Hinsby. He's going to play about 10 more dates after that. And Tommy don't live far from the Palomino. He just lives about 5 miles from the Palomino right now. So, real nice guy, Tommy Sands. He was married into the Sinatra family. You know all about Tommy Sands. Real nice guy. But yeah, everybody's played the Palomino. I wish I could play it again, really. I wish I could go back there and play again and take some with me and Ray Campy. And I'd like to do a good rockabilly show again one more time at the Palomino. Maybe we could do that. Maybe they'll let us. We put it in the paper and let them know, go out there and do a show. You say there's music going on there.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Well, tell them, would they like a big rockabilly festival? We'll pack that place. We'll pack that Palomino. And have a big reunion. We'll have a reunion at the Palomino. I understand they've taken all the pictures off the wall. That's terrible,
They've redone the whole thing.
Yeah, redone the whole thing, yeah.
Totally different.
Oh, is it?
Billy had those signs.
Yeah.
It's a white building.
No kidding.
Totally.
Well, you've been there so many times, Vicki, you and George, and you saw the pictures up. They had great pictures, man. They had pictures of everybody that ever played there on the wall. And most of them wasn't even in frames. They were just putting on there with a tack. And those pictures are precious, man. Precious pictures. You saw them, did you? I don't know who got those pictures.
some of them, and Rosie tells me that Billy Joel.
Ain't that cool? Well, you know they're valuable. You know those pictures are valuable. I see people throwing stuff away that is really, don't throw nothing away. It's valuable. I'll tell you a story. The Maddox Brothers and Rose played the Louisiana Hayride. That's where Elvis got started, you know, in the hayride. And Henry Maddox, he was one of the brothers. Well, in the early days, he had a little 8 mm camera before video, you know, no sound. But he'd take it everywhere we went. Everywhere you went, you know, he'd take that little camera. Henry's dead now. But anyway, Henry used to take it to the hayride. And he taped some Elvis. A lot of Elvis. No, you know, that's really valuable. No one's ever seen of Elvis. No one's ever seen Elvis on the hayride. Never. There is no video of Elvis on the hayride. He took Elvis at the hayride. He had all these little video 8 mm cameras, you know, and they're little bitty tapes. They only play for about 7 minutes. And he had all these tapes. And he just got tired of it one day to tell nobody, and he threw them in a trash can, and no one's ever seen them since. You know, because I guess the trash man took them, they're gone. And I said, Henry, why didn't you give them to me? You know, why couldn't I, you know? And all that valuable stuff, you know, and threw it in the trash. He didn't know that it was valuable in those days, but he threw it all away. Had all that. So these videos you make, keep them forever, because sometimes the artist dies or something, and people want to see it, you know. You know, don't ever throw nothing away, you know. I learned that a long time ago, man. I regretted it, because that was Elvis, you know. You could sell that for $100,000. Elvis in the early days on the hayride, gee, and then it's gone. Yeah. And I hate Henry for this day for that. No, I love Henry, but man, I hate that.
There's a picture of you and Elvis right there, isn't it? California Rockabilly, is that Elvis?
That's me and Elvis. Take a picture of that. That's Fred Maddox. That's me. That's Elvis and Gary Lambert. Oh, I got better pictures of Elvis. You want to put one on there? I got my photo album.
Oh, that's Glen Glenn right below me. Glen Glenn is the same guitar.
That's me right below it. Yeah, Glen Glenn. That's my CD. Yeah, this is sort of my little den.
That's one of your CDs that's available right now?
You can buy that CD right now at probably Tower Records. Rhino's got it. It's called Missouri Rockabilly. Glen Glenn, Missouri Rockabilly. This has got mostly my country, my early stuff. Before everybody's moving to Lorraine, this is my early stuff. Some stuff from 1954. My early country stuff. See, I used to sing country, you know. You're cheating hard.
The one right there, Glen Glenn, and the widow with it.
This one right here is this is a Japanese CD. It's from Japan, Tokyo. It's got all my stuff on there from Japan. Go Cat Go. That's a record company out of Tokyo. See, Rockabilly's selling worldwide now, you know. I sell in every country. In fact, I sell where? Japan loves Rockabilly. Oh, yeah. Every time I do a Rockabilly concert, even when I did Rudolfo's just a couple months ago, there's a lot of Japanese there. And they love Rockabilly. They came there and wanted my autograph. Man, they love Rockabilly. Every time I can't do a concert without Japanese being there. They love it. They love Rockabilly.
That term, Go Cat Go.
Go Cat Go? That's from Blue Suede Shoes, Carl Perkins. Go Cat. Well, wasn't that Carl Perkins did Go Cat Go? Go Cat Go, but don't you step on my blue suede shoes, but go Cat Go. Yeah, that's Carl Perkins, yeah. Gee Vincent had Bebop-a-Lula, she's my baby. Bebop-a-Lula, Blue Cats. Yeah. Yeah.
Cat stuff down there. Is that like Rockabilly term, cat?
Yeah. Well, I think that Carl Perkins started the Cats when he started singing about cats all the time. Carl's always saying, you're a cat, you know. I think Carl started that term. And they used to call Elvis the hillbilly cat, you know. When Elvis first started, they called him a hillbilly cat, him and Scotty and Bill Black, the hillbilly cat.
That Lorianne, that's a gold record, isn't it?
Yeah. Lorianne, and then everybody's moving, yeah. You might get a little glare on that glass, I don't know. Yeah.
That's why your biggest song is good.
Yeah, that's my biggest seller was Lorraine.
You're talking earlier, some of the cats that cover that song, Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, Everybody's Moving has been covered by Springsteen, Tom Petty, Neil Young, Bob Dylan, almost all Led Zeppelin. You know, when I played London, Led Zeppelin came to my concert. Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. I got that in a newspaper too. Where they came to my show. They came backstage and met me. Got my autograph. But I never was into heavy metal. But I even told them that. But they said, we like rockabilly. So they said, we like rockabilly. They told me. So we started out as rockabilly. Then they started doing heavy metal. That's a poster up above when a show in Sweden with me and Rose Maddox, Glen Glenn and Rose Maddox in Sweden. And there's Bob Dylan and Glen Glenn at the Hollywood Palladium on May the 19th, 1995. If you look real in small letters, Sheryl Crow is at the bottom. She's a big star now. Look, see, special guest Sheryl Crow, and now she's a big star. So you never know.
Glen Glenn story. Is that a motion picture, Glenn?
Well, they wrote stories about me, but that's an old record. That's an LP. That's an LP album. Those three are LPs. The Glen Glenn, Everybody's Moving. Then the Glen Glenn Rockabilly Legend. That's an LP. Before CDs, you know, before you had CDs. And I kept them on the wall because I like albums. Sometimes I like albums better than CDs. CDs sound better, but I like albums look better. You know, when I'm autographing, it's hard to autograph a CD. They're so small. And an album, man, you can write all over it. You know, and CDs you can't. You know. And that picture of me and Johnny Case, but there's a story. That was taken in 1956, and it took me 40 years to get it autographed by Johnny. I mean, I'd seen him since then, but I didn't have the picture with me. And I got that autographed at the House of Blues, and I gave it to Johnny. I said, Johnny, it took me 40 years to get this autographed, you know, because we took it in 56. I didn't get it autographed till 3 or 4 years ago, you know, from Johnny. That picture of me and Johnny. That was taken at the County Barn Dance in Baldwin Park in about 1956. And that gold record up there is a gold record they gave me in Las Vegas because I did an autograph station with a bunch of 50s people. Sue Thompson was there, by the way. I mean, a lot of 50 people were there, and I was there, and they gave every one of us a gold record. We autographed at a record convention, you know, where people bought and sold records and autographed and everything, and they gave us a gold record for that. But I have a lot of posters. That's just two of them. I probably have about 50 posters, you know, of shows. Because I keep all that, but you can't put it all up here. I'd have to. The wife don't want me to. I'd have wallpaper full of posters in the house there. Really, my only area is just this one little side of the house. So you notice the rest of it's. She won't let me have no more of the house. This one little area over here. See? This is Glen Glenn's section right here. Yeah.
You went to a Palomino Club. That was good old days, huh?
The Palomino Club was probably my favorite place to play. It had to be, you know. That's where everybody was. I couldn't even go to Palomino. I was so young, and I wanted to go there. I used to go down there, and Joe Maphis, you heard of Joe Maphis, and Merle Travis, they played there all the time. Me and Gary Lambert would go down to Palomino and would stand outside because it wasn't 21. We couldn't get inside, you know. And we would actually go to the Palomino and listen outside to the music inside because they wouldn't let us inside. You had to be 21 to go inside the Palomino because they had alcohol and they drunk. And those guys, Gary Lambert played the guitar. Joe Maphis played the guitar. He would come outside during breaks, you know, how you have breaks. Joe would come out and talk to us on break. He knew we were outside. We couldn't get in. So Joe would come outside and talk to us. Then he had to go back. He'd go start playing again. See? We'd wait out until the next break. Every break, he'd come out and talk to us. Well, so that goes way back. You know, that's probably about early 50s. And Mr. Guitar, Merle Travis, he played. Everybody played upon. Jimmy Bryant played the Palomino many times. I'm talking about great guitar players. Jimmy Bryant played the Palomino. Who? Jimmy Snyder. Yeah.
Better guitar. What's that picture of him?
Yeah, Jimmy Snyder. I haven't heard of him in a long time. Remember Jimmy Snyder? Yeah, where's he at now, Jimmy Snyder?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he played the Palomino.
Oh, that's right. The leather is different.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's sort of like Elvis had leather on, around his. It used to be you could get a cat. I never did that, but they could make you something that would fit over the big section, and it fit over, and then they put your name on it. And Elvis had one like that. And yeah, but I always thought when you put the leather over it, you sort of deaden the sound of the acoustic of the guitar if you put all that leather over it. I always thought that. But a lot of guys did that. Hank Snow did that. Hank Snow did that.
Well, one cup of coffee and a cigarette. I'm waiting on the one I wanna love and pet. It seemed like a year since I seen her face. Her sweet lips I can't wait to taste. I'm waiting on my baby and she ain't here yet. One cup of coffee and a cigarette. I'm gonna cry if she don't show up. The tears are gonna fall in the coffee cup. Cigarette smoke's a getting in my eye, but ain't the reason that I cry. I'm waiting on my baby and she ain't here yet. One cup of coffee and a cigarette. Coffee and a cigarette. I'm waiting on the one I wanna love and pet. It seemed like a year since I've seen her face. Her sweet lips I can't wait to taste. I'm waiting on my baby and she ain't here yet. One cup of coffee and a cigarette.